The sky over the Wyoming territory turned the color of old pewter as evening crept in, heavy with the warning of a storm that had no mercy in it. The wind came first, slicing across the open land like a blade, carrying dust, dead grass, and the sharp scent of snow that hadn't yet fallen. On a ridge above a narrow creek sat a young rancher named Cole Harding, his hat pulled low and his collar turned up against the cold. He was only 23, but hardship had a way of aging a man faster than years ever could. Cole had lived alone on his 200 acres since he was 18, ever since fever took his ma and a horsefall took his pa the winter after. Folks in town called him strange, quiet, touched by ghosts maybe. He rarely spoke unless business required it. He kept to himself, kept his head down, kept his heart locked up tight. That was the way he'd survived. His small herd of cattle huddled by the creek, their breath visible in the dropping temperature. Cole counted them twice, then a third time just to be sure. 32 head. Not much to make a future with, but all he had. The land was stubborn, rocky in some places, swampy in others. It fought him every day, and he fought it right back. It was his only company most nights. A low rumble rolled across the ground, and Cole stiffened. It wasn't thunder. It was wind. Deep, angry wind that signaled the kind of blizzard that swallowed up whole families and barns and left nothing but bones behind. He knew the signs. The stillness. The taste of metal on the air. The sudden silence of birds. "We're in trouble now," he muttered, patting his mare Willow. She snorted nervously, sensing the danger long before he had. He needed to move the cattle to the lower valley, where the hills curved just right, giving some protection from the worst of the cold. But as Cole started driving them forward, the storm arrived faster than any storm had a right to. Snow hit like fists. Angry, stinging fists that blinded him, soaked him, and froze his face within seconds. Willow stumbled. Cole leaned low over her neck, urging her forward, but he could barely see his own hands. The world vanished into white sky, white ground, white wind. His ears rang with the roar of it. His fingers went numb first, then his toes, then something deeper. Willow fought to keep her footing, but the drifts grew higher and the wind grew stronger until Cole couldn't tell if they were going north, south, or straight into death. "Easy, girl, easy," he whispered, though his voice barely carried over the screaming wind. He tried turning back toward the ranch, but he'd lost all sense of direction. He could have been 10 feet from his barn and wouldn't have known it. Panic clawed up his throat. Not like this, he thought. Not alone in the snow. Not without ever knowing what it felt like to be close to someone. Willow suddenly jerked her head, snorted loud, and forced her body forward against the wind. She smelled something warm. "Go on," Cole said, giving her her head. "Take us there." He trusted her more than he trusted his own senses. She carried him toward a dim flicker through the storm. At first he thought it was his mind playing tricks on him, but then the light grew stronger, warmer, alive. Fire. Fire meant shelter, and shelter meant people. Cole slid off Willow and half stumbled, half fell, through the deep snow toward the light. It came from a tall, cone-shaped shelter tucked into a natural break in the rock, a teepee. Smoke curled from the top, and animal hides covered the entrance, glowing from the fire inside. He froze, literally and figuratively. Indians. His father's voice echoed in his mind. "Don't trust them, boy. They take kindness and give back steel." But the cold was already giving steel to his bones. If he stayed outside, he'd die before Willow finished her next breath. Fear of the storm outweighed every old warning. Cole forced his numb hand forward and knocked against the wooden support pole beside the hide flap. "Hello?" he croaked. I'm lost in the storm, please." The flap moved. A young woman stood there, framed by firelight. Her eyes were dark, steady, unreadable. Her hair, long and black, was braided over her shoulder. She couldn't have been older than 20. Behind her, another woman rose from beside the fire, Older by a couple of years, stronger in her stance with the same striking features, sisters. They stared at him with a caution that made his heart pound harder than the cold ever could. He didn't need to see their eyes flick to the rifle resting near the fire to know they saw him as a threat. But he wasn't a threat. He was a half-dead rancher who needed help. "Please," he said again, breath shaking. "My horse. She's freezing. I mean no harm." The two exchanged a quick, quiet conversation in their language. Then the younger one nodded. "Come," she said, her voice accented but sure. "Bring your horse." Storm kills fast. They went out with him, showing him where to tie Willow in the small sheltered crease beside the rocks. When Cole's frozen fingers couldn't manage the knots, the older sister stepped in silently and tied them with practiced ease. Inside, the heat hit him so hard he almost fell. The teepee smelled like smoke, leather, and herbs he couldn't name. Buffalo robes covered the ground. A pot of something hot simmered by the fire. He stood there, dripping melted snow, shivering uncontrollably. "Sit," the younger one said, "before you fall." He sank down by the fire, hardly aware of anything except the pain of warmth returning to his limbs. "I'm Cole Harding," he managed. "My ranch, somewhere south of here." "I am Lila," the younger woman said. "This my sister, Teya." They gave him a blanket, hot tea that burned and healed at the same time, and silence that was neither hostile nor welcoming, just watchful. As his body thawed, Cole couldn't help thinking how strange this was. He'd spent years avoiding every soul in the territory. Now he sat half-frozen inside a teepee with two Apache sisters who had every reason to fear and hate men like him. "You live here alone?" he asked quietly. "For now," Teya answered, "just two women alone on the land, hunted by soldiers, threatened by settlers, surviving through skill and stubbornness. They should have turned him away. They should have let the storm take him. Instead, they'd saved him." "Why help me?" Cole whispered. He couldn't finish. He didn't have to. Lila looked into him with a depth that felt like she saw every lonely year he'd ever lived. "Storm does not care what color your skin is," she said. "Cold kills all the same." Cole swallowed hard, throat tight. He'd never wanted connection, never needed company, until now. The storm roared outside, but inside, something warm and unspoken began to melt the frost around his heart. Cole woke to a stillness so complete it felt unnatural. The storm that had tried to kill him had passed, leaving behind a pale, muted light that filtered through the top of the teepee. The fire had burned low, glowing like buried embers beneath ash. His body ached from head to toe, but for the first time in years, he wasn't waking up in a cold, empty cabin. Lila knelt by the entrance, repairing a tear in one of the hides with careful stitches. Her long braid hung over her shoulder, catching the soft light. She didn't look up, but somehow Cole knew she was aware of every movement he made. Teya entered moments later, carrying an armful of wood. Snow dusted her dark hair and shoulders. She moved with a quiet confidence that made Cole straighten instinctively. "Storm gone," she said, brushing snow from her sleeves. "Your horse is well." Cole let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "I should check on my cattle," he said, though his voice was unsure. "I need to get back." Lila looked at him then, her dark eyes steady. "Eat first. Long ride in snow." She handed him a carved wooden bowl filled with something that looked simple but smelled rich with herbs and meat. His stomach growled the moment the scent reached him. He took a bite. It was warm, earthy, comforting. "This is good," he said. Teya gave a small smirk. "Better than the dried beans you eat alone." Cole blinked. "How did you?" She shrugged. "We see far." He didn't know if that meant they had watched him from afar or simply guessed, but either way, they weren't wrong. Most nights he ate whatever he could cook fast, without effort or care. He had lived like a man trying not to be alive. The sisters watched him eat in silence, but not an uncomfortable one. When he finished, Lila spoke softly. "You live alone?" He nodded. "For 5 years." "Hard years," Teya observed. Cole hesitated. Then, for reasons he couldn't explain, he said more than he intended. "Lost my ma, Then my pa? Ranch. It's all I had left. Quote, he expected pity. He got something else. Understanding. Our family taken, Lila said gently. Soldiers forced them to reservation. Many died there. We came here. Cole looked between them, two young women alone in a land full of men who'd think them prey. That's dangerous, he said quietly. Teya raised an eyebrow. For who? He couldn't help it. He almost smiled. They invited him outside. The world had transformed overnight. Snow blanketed everything, sparkling in the morning sun, softening the harsh lines of the land. The air was sharp, but gentle compared to the storm's rage. Their camp was cleverly hidden between rock formations, the teepee positioned just right to block the north wind. A small spring bubbled nearby, steam rising like breath from a sleeping animal. You built all this? Cole asked, genuinely impressed. Apache women build homes, Teya said. Men hunt, women keep life going. Cole had known some ranchers who couldn't even fix a door hinge. These women had built a fortress out of nothing. Lila pointed to a small structure half hidden by brush. Food cache. We keep safe from animals. Teya showed him herbs growing near the warm spring, naming them in both English and Apache. Each plant had a purpose: healing, flavor, medicine, even storytelling traditions tied to them. Cole found himself leaning closer, nodding like a schoolboy trying to learn everything at once. You listen well, Lila said, her tone approving. Never had anyone worth listening to, he admitted. Her expression softened in a way that made his heartbeat thud hard in his chest. Then, Teya suddenly stiffened. Her gaze shot toward the distant ridge. Riders, she whispered. 3 silhouettes moved across the snowy plain, heading straight toward the valley. Cole's stomach clenched. I know that coat, he said. Jim Price from the ranch north of mine. Teya's hand went instantly to the knife at her belt. Lila moved closer to Cole, her expression tense. You stay inside, Teya ordered. They see us. Trouble comes. No, Cole said quickly. Let me talk to them. They know me. They won't fire if I'm there. The sisters exchanged a glance so quick he almost missed it. Then Lila nodded once. We trust you, she said simply. Those 3 small words hit Cole harder than the blizzard ever had. He stepped out, waving his arms to draw attention before the riders got too close to the teepee. Jim reined in his horse, his son Billy beside him, and behind them rode a man Cole had hoped never to see again. Davis Cobb. Mean as a starving coyote. Quick to fight, quicker to hate. Cole, Jim called. We thought the storm took you, boy. Nearly did, Cole said, doing his best to sound casual. Found shelter just in time. Billy squinted past him. Shelter where? Ain't nothing out here but rocks. Cole stood tall. I'll show you the spot another time. Right now, I need to get back to my herd. Davis let tobacco juice fall into the snow. You sure you weren't shacked up with some squaws? The word hit Cole like a slap. Cold fury rose inside him, unfamiliar and sharp. You watch your mouth, Davis. Davis smirked. What? Ain't like they belong out here. Should be on the reservation where they... The sound of a rifle being cocked cut the air like a crack of ice. Teya stood on a rock outcropping, rifle aimed straight at Davis's chest, eyes steady and unblinking. Jim went pale. Put that down, miss. No one's looking for trouble. Cole raised both hands. She's protecting herself. Davis started it. Davis scoffed. Figures you'd defend 'em. Cole took a step forward, surprising even himself. They saved my life. That silenced everyone. Jim studied him for a long, heavy moment. Then he sighed. Storm's got everyone on edge. Come on, boys. Leave it be. He turned his horse. Billy followed reluctantly. Davis glared, but eventually spat in the snow and rode off. When their shapes disappeared over the ridge, Cole let out the breath he'd been holding. Teya climbed down slowly, rifle still in hand. Foolish men, she muttered. You could have gotten shot, Cole said. So could you, she replied calmly. You stood for us. Lila stepped closer to Cole, her eyes holding something warm, something deep. You protect us, she said. We protect you. Cole felt something shift inside him, something opening that he hadn't known was closed. That night he returned twice to the edge of their camp, looking back at the glow of their fire through the cold. The thought of his empty cabin filled him with a loneliness that felt heavier now than ever. And when he finally rode away, he made a promise to himself. A promise he didn't yet fully understand. He would come back. Cole barely slept that night. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw Lila's soft smile in the firelight, Teya's fierce stance on the rocks, the trust in their eyes when they let him speak for them. By dawn, he'd made a decision that felt reckless and right at the same time. He loaded his pack horse with flour, dried meat, coffee, a spare wool blanket, and, after several moments of hesitation, a small tin of sugar. He didn't know if the sisters liked their tea sweet, but something in him wanted to bring them a kindness they didn't expect. The ride to their hidden valley felt quicker this time, his heart pulling him forward faster than Willow's hooves. When the teepee came into view, a weight lifted off his chest. They were still there, still safe. Lila emerged first, as if she'd been waiting for him. Her eyes widened when she saw the supplies, then softened with something like relief. "You came back," she said quietly. "I said I would," Cole replied, suddenly nervous for no reason. "I brought some things. To repay your kindness." Teya stepped out beside her, arms crossed but a hint of approval in her eyes. "Maybe you stay for food," she said. "Your stories make Lila laugh." Lila elbowed her sister, cheeks warming. Cole felt his own face heat up. He stayed. He stayed for lunch. He stayed through the afternoon. He stayed until the moon began to rise. That day marked the beginning of a new rhythm. Cole would ride to the valley 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Some visits he brought supplies. Others he brought nothing but himself. They taught him their herbal medicines, their hunting tricks, the meanings of their family symbols. He taught them ranching tricks, how to mend fences, how to tell when a storm was coming by the shape of clouds. One afternoon, when Teya went to check snares, Cole and Lila sat close by the fire. He fumbled clumsily with beads as she tried teaching him basic patterns. Their fingers brushed more than once, sending jolts through him he tried and failed to hide. "You are different now," Lila said softly, watching him. "Different how?" "Before eyes empty, now they look alive." He swallowed. "Maybe I didn't have much worth living for before." Her gaze warmed. "Now?" "Now, there's something." He hesitated, then corrected himself. "Someone." Her breath caught, and a smile tugged at her lips, small, shy, and more precious than anything he owned. When Teya returned, Cole pretended nothing had happened, but he felt changed, as if a door he'd kept locked for years had finally cracked open. Winter slowly loosened its grip. The snow thinned. The animals stirred early. Cole knew the sisters would soon have to move north with the new season. One morning he arrived to find their belongings already neatly organized. His heart dropped into his boots. "You're leaving?" His voice sounded small, even to him. "Soon," Teya said, "but not far." Cole blinked. "Not far?" Lila stepped closer. "There is sheltered valley 2 miles from your ranch. Good land, hidden, safe. We stay there for spring." Cole stared at her, hardly believing it. You're staying near me?" "If you want that," Lila whispered. "Want?" Want didn't begin to cover it. He nodded, unable to speak around the emotion rising in his throat. That night, he helped them move, a careful journey through narrow ravines and rock cuts. They set their camp near a bend in the creek, unseen from any trail. It was close enough that Cole could reach them in minutes, and once they settled, something shifted between them, something unspoken but understood, something inevitable. Spring came, grass returned to the fields, birds sang again, and Cole's world kept opening wider. One evening, after helping Teya hang a new hide covering, Cole walked with Lila down to the creek. The air smelled like wet earth and new beginnings. "Cole," Lila said, her voice soft, "why you come so much?" Quote. He breathed out slowly. "Because I want to be here. With you." She looked at him for a long moment, searching his face. Then she stepped closer. her hand lifting to rest against his chest. "I want that too." Their kiss was gentle, soft as a falling leaf, warm as the first sunlight after winter. Cole felt years of loneliness melt under that single touch. He rested his forehead against hers, breath trembling. "Lila, I—" She placed a finger over his lips. "No need words," she whispered. "I know." The next weeks felt like a dream. They weren't husband and wife, not officially, not by any paper any town would accept, but they were something real. Something strong. Teya pretended to roll her eyes at them, but she smiled more than she used to. She was protective, sharp-tongued, but underneath, Cole sensed she felt safer with him around. "Family doesn't always come from blood," she said once, surprising him. "Sometimes comes from storms." But peace in the West never lasted long. One afternoon, Cole heard gunshots in the direction of the valley. His blood ran cold. He rode so fast Willow nearly stumbled. When he reached the camp, Lila and Teya were crouched behind rocks, rifles drawn, facing off against 3 mounted men, Davis Cobb among them. Cole didn't think. He put himself between the sisters and danger, rifle raised. "Back off, Davis," he shouted. "Now!" Davis sneered. "So it's true. You've turned red lover, Cole. Shame on you." "You leave them alone," Cole said, voice shaking with fury he didn't know he had. "Or I swear." A gun cocked behind Davis. Sheriff Randall rode into the clearing, weapon aimed straight at the troublemaker. "That's enough," the sheriff barked. "These women ain't breaking any laws, and Cole Harding is a better man than you ever were." The 3 men backed down, humiliated, muttering threats as they retreated. When the danger passed, Lila rushed to Cole, her hands trembling as they touched his face. "You foolish man," she whispered. "You could have died." "For you," Cole said quietly, "I'd face worse." Teya crossed her arms, blinking fast to hide emotion. "We stand together," she said. And Cole knew it was true. He wasn't alone anymore. That night, under a sky full of stars, Lila took Cole's hands in hers. "Our people have tradition," she whispered. "We speak vows before fire. No priest needed, no paper, only hearts." Cole's breath hitched. "Lila, are you saying—" She nodded once. "If you want, I choose you." Cole felt tears sting his eyes. He'd never had anything, anyone, to choose him back. "I choose you too," he said. Teya stood behind them, arms folded but smiling softly. "At last," she muttered. They spoke their vows in the quiet night, words simple but binding. "Where your heart goes, mine follows. Where you seek shelter, I stand beside you." Quote, "Where winter finds us, we fight it together." When they sealed the vows with a kiss, Cole felt reborn, no longer the lonely rancher, no longer the boy hiding from life. He was a man with a family, a man with purpose, a man with love. The storm that nearly killed him had delivered him to the 2 people who would save him. And from that night on, Cole Harding was never alone again.